Santa is going to find out who's naughty or nice.
Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kane Becker, and today we'll review the Christmas horror film, Krampus. So the 2015 film Krampus is definitely one of my favorite horror Christmas movies of all time. It's actually even up there with Christmas movies in general. Yeah, I'm a little bit twisted because I do like the darker side of things, so that's part of it. But I just think it's got just that Christmas charm in spades. That's probably my favorite thing about this movie. I just love the atmosphere that it creates. Just the way it feels really, really cold outside. And it even has this nice warmth feeling inside at times as well, mostly emanating from the grandma, but just in general. It has that really Christmassy, you know, because the mom is so, like, she's a little bit over the top, but she's all into the, you know, holly homemaker, Christmas decorations, you know, that whole thing, which I think is cool. But especially for the movie, it serves really well because it's opposite of that cold, you know, harsh outside, snowy, frozen blizzard feel with that warm inside glow of the Christmas lights and just that warmth, right? So I really, really enjoy that. Michael Dougherty directed this and then also helped write it. And if you don't know, he's the same guy who brought you Trick or Treat, which is probably my favorite Halloween, as far as like theme-wise movie. It's probably my favorite Halloween movie of all time. I'm not going to say it's definitely my favorite Halloween movie in general, but as far as atmosphere and one that just feels like Halloween, I don't think you can get better than Trick or Treat. It's just definitely one of my favorites, and I just love Sam. But this movie to me captures a lot of that same thing. The only thing I feel like that is kind of lacking from this movie is Trick or Treat had that R rating. So it had that blood, that gore, it had that viciousness, whereas this just doesn't get there. It's got that PG-13, and it just kind of feels like it's, you know, it's just being held back. It just doesn't quite get where it feels like it wants to go, which is really my only grief and problem with this movie. It's why I personally enjoyed A Christmas Horror Story, which I reviewed last Friday. But it's why I enjoyed that movie just a little bit more, was because it didn't have to hold back. When it was time to kill, it went in for it. And it just really felt vicious, as well as having that creepy atmosphere and that whole thing going for it as well. But this movie, Krampus, it has that polish. It definitely is a higher budget level movie. Probably maybe the most of any Christmas horror movie. I would say probably is the highest budget Christmas horror movie ever made. And you can definitely see that in this. It really has those special effects down pat. Just the camera work, the sound, the lighting, the music. Just everything in this movie is really polished and really, really top notch. Which I really enjoy about it, you know, and I think that's a lot of fun. Granted, I really enjoy some of those low budget Christmas horror ones as well. And that's fun in its own way. But it is nice for a change to have one that really has those special effects down pat and just really is a solid film and just really well produced and just looks really good. And Krampus looks really, really good. Everything about it. I love the look of Krampus himself. I only wish you could see him a little bit more in this movie. I feel like you didn't quite get to see him as much as I would have liked, which is cool because it does leave a little bit of that mystery. But it would have been nice to get a couple more just really good shots that held on for just a second longer, because he just looks so badass. But he's just this mountain, and it just is really intimidating and just a really great feeling in general. One of the other things I really love about this movie is that it feels like a nightmare. You know, it could have been called Nightmare Christmas. I mean, it feels like you're living this nightmare, especially as it gets towards the end and there's just everything in the, you know, kitchen sink being thrown at our characters, especially the boy. Just every kind of Christmas creature you could think of basically starts coming out of the woodwork. And that's a lot of fun, and especially when they look as good as they do in this film. But like I said, I would have just enjoyed a little bit more of that, you know, just that punch in the face that I think an R rating would have given it. But hey, you know, you can't have everything. But it is the only thing I felt that held this back from just being really, really this top level Christmas horror movie. And I don't think we've ever quite gotten there, because A Christmas Horror Story, it's awesome, but it could have been a little bit better. And this movie, it's the same thing. As much as I love it and enjoy it, same with that one, it just felt like it could have just been a little bit better for a few reasons. Mostly, to me, the R rating. Because the acting is solid, the look of it is solid. There isn't really much else, to me, that you can complain about in this film, other than that it doesn't have that R rating. Yeah, there are a few characters that do get pretty annoying and you just want to kind of jump through the screen and punch them in the face. That does distract you a tidbit, because I personally have this thing for annoying characters. It just bugs me, especially when there's some of your main characters. I'd rather like the characters, especially in this, when none of the characters are really meant to be villains, really. So you're supposed to kind of root for them all, but there's a few of them where you're like, that's fine, kill them. I don't care. Like, they annoy the crap out of me. The last thing that I thought was really fascinating about this movie is I thought I knew the ending. But then I talked to my sister about the ending, and she had a really different perception on what she thought took place at the end. So I guess the ending can be kind of perceived in different ways. So I'd love to hear what your guys' opinions on what you think happened at the end. I don't want to say it right here because I don't want to give away and spoil the ending for anyone that hasn't watched this. But if you haven't watched this, I highly recommend checking this out, especially if you're into horror and you also enjoy that overall feeling of Christmas. I wouldn't necessarily say this movie is scary, but it's definitely very creepy and eerie, and it has a lot of atmosphere to it. But that's going to do it for me today, so please hit that subscribe button and ding the little bell if you haven't already, because that's the best way to keep track of this channel, as well as help me keep doing this. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.
It's Christmas. Nothing bad's gonna happen on Christmas.